The International Criminal Court has sentenced Malian rebel Ahmed al-faqi al-Mahdi to 9 years in prison. This is after he pleaded guilty to destroying Timbuktu's shrines and a mosque during the Mali conflict in 2012. It's a landmark case for the ICC, so the first on the charge of cultural destruction.
The chamber unanimously sentences you to 9 years of imprisonment. In accordance with the appeals chamber's jurisprudence, the time you have spent in detention, in accordance with an order of this court, namely since your arrest pursuant to the warrant issued on 18 September 2015, shall be deducted from your sentence.
Let's go straight to Simon McGregor-Wood, who is at the ICC at The Hague. Simon, so what more did we hear from the judges?
Well, we heard interesting context to the crimes that took place in the summer of 2012 in Timbuktu. We heard about the accused, the guilty man, Mr. al-Mahdi. He was known locally as something of an Islamic expert. And when Ansar Deen, the group with which he was associated, an al-Qaeda affiliate, more or less, took over Timbuktu, he was put in charge of the so-called Hisbah, the morality police. And when it came to trying to work out under what particular kind of Islamic regime the town should live, he was instrumental in deciding what should and shouldn't be allowed, and attention soon turned to Timbuktu's very famous cultural heritage, namely its mausoleums built in memory of Islamic scholars and some would say even saints in that town, particularly during the period in which that town flourished in the 15th and 16th century. And it was then decided, and Mr. al-Mahdi was intimately involved in these decisions, that some of these mausoleums should actually be destroyed. And not only did he direct those who took part in the destruction, the court found that in at least 5 cases he was actually personally responsible for participating in the destruction of those shrines as well. And therefore, his guilt was absolutely beyond doubt. And also, as we know, when this trial first convened a few months ago, he admitted guilt on all counts. I think the sentencing, 9 years, it's lower than the prosecution had asked for. They'd asked for 9 to 11, was partly in recognition of his apparent remorse. He's apologized to the people of Mali, and I think the judge took that into account when passing the sentence, but a very, very important verdict.
And tell us a bit why it's important, because this is the first time the ICC has tried a case like this on the destruction of cultural artifacts.
Yeah, I mean, it's also the first Islamist extremist that the court has had before it. I think it is important from the court's point of view to establish the destruction of someone's culture, history and religion. And that was very clear in the case of the Timbuktu shrines, that they were intricate to people's daily worship and practice and daily culture. The judge even said that they were of extraordinary emotional importance to the people of Timbuktu as well. This amounts to a war crime, and I think that this case sets an important precedent, the judges would argue, for other people seeking to impose their own particular ideology on others, to the extent that they actually go as far as to destroy those others' culture and history, because as history, I think, has taught us, the jump between destroying someone's culture and history is not a particularly big one to destroying the people themselves. And I think it is hoped, at least by the court, with particular reference, I think, to Syria and Iraq and Afghanistan and, of course, Yemen, that this will be a precedent that might deter others.
OK, Simon, good to speak to you. Simon McGregor-Wood there at the ICC in The Hague.